Half-lives. By definition, a half-life represents the time it takes for a certain quantity of a sample to be reduced by a half. For example, if a sample of 400 grams of a fictitious element has a half-life of 500 years, after 500 years, only 200 grams would remain. After 1,000 years, there would be 100 grams of the sample left. After 1,500 years, 50 grams, and this would continue until the sample ran out. Note that each time we divide the new quantity in half and not the initial 400 grams. A lot of people tend to think that after 500 years there are 200 grams left, and after 1,000 years the sample is completely gone, but this is not the case. 2 half-lives do not correspond to the total life of a sample. There are formulas to calculate the half-life of a sample experimentally. However, if we understand the concept of a half-life, sometimes it's actually easier to do the calculations without a formula if we're given the correct information. To solve this problem, we need to know the initial quantity of the sample that we have. The question doesn't give us this precisely, but since we're given a percentage, we can say that the initial quantity was 100%. We start with 100% of carbon-14. We want to know how many half-lives have passed so that we're left with only 6.25% of our original sample. We know that each half-life reduced the sample by half, so after one half-life we're left with 50%. After a second half-life we're left with 25%. Dividing in half again, we get 12.5% after 3 half-lives. It's after the 4th half-life that we are left with 6.25% of the original sample. But the question is looking for the amount of time that has gone by since time 0, and not the number of half-lives. So all we need to do is simply multiply the number of half-lives by its value, 6,000 years, to find that 24,000 years have gone by. To solve this problem, we estimate again that the initial quantity of the element was 100%, and that the fraction that is left after 48,000 years is 1.5625%. Just like the previous question, we need to find how many half-lives have gone by since time 0. 6 half-lives in total have gone by. To find the value of one half-life, we need to divide the total amount of time that has gone by, 48,000 years, by the number of half-lives, 6, which gives us an answer of 8,000 years.